Princess Adaiza, I have traveled across rivers and mountains just to stand before you today.
Princess Adaiza, please consider.
I am not interested.
I have not finished speaking.
You do not need to.
I came here with respect. The least you could do is hear me out.
And I am telling you the truth, without wasting your time.
Enough! Adaiza! You have humiliated this kingdom again.
You turn away kings, princes, warriors, men any kingdom would be proud to call their own.
Do you think you are above tradition?
I will not marry a man I do not love.
Then hear my decree. From this day forward, you will marry the next man who enters this palace, no matter who he is.
Love does not build alliances.
No, he cannot mean it.
Father!
You made your choice. Now I make mine.
The kingdom of Umuaka had not known peace for many months. Every market day, every festival, every gathering, one topic always returned like an uninvited guest: Princess Adaize and her refusal to marry. Drums beat loudly in the royal courtyard that morning as yet another suitor arrived. Men lined the palace walls, women whispered among themselves. Children stretched their necks just to catch a glimpse of the wealthy prince who had come from afar. They say he owns 10 villages, one woman whispered, and over 100 servants, another added. Surely this one will be accepted, an elder said confidently. But inside the palace chambers, Princess Adaize sat quietly before a bronze mirror, her face calm but distant. Her maid, Chioma, stood behind her, carefully arranging her hair. "My princess," Chioma said softly, "this one is different. They say he is kind and very generous." Adaize's eyes met Chioma's through the mirror. "Kind," she repeated slowly. "Generous." Chioma nodded eagerly. "Yes, my princess, the people love him." Adaize turned away. "They always say that," she replied coldly, "until the truth comes out." Chioma hesitated. "My princess, the king is growing impatient." Adaize stood up. "Let him be." The royal courtyard was filled to the brim. The king sat tall on his throne, his expression unreadable, though the tension in his jaw betrayed his mood. The visiting prince stepped forward confidently, dressed in fine robes that shimmered under the sun. When Princess Adaize entered, the entire courtyard fell silent. She walked with grace, her presence commanding attention without effort. The prince smiled warmly. "Princess Adaize," he said, bowing slightly, "I have traveled across rivers and mountains just to stand before you today." Adaize said nothing. "I have heard of your beauty, your wisdom, and your strength," he continued, "and I believe I am not interested." Her voice cut through his words like a blade. The silence that followed was heavy. The prince blinked, clearly caught off guard. I have not finished speaking," he said carefully. "You do not need to," Adaize replied, her tone firm and emotionless. Gasps spread through the crowd. Some covered their mouths, others shook their heads. The prince's smile faded. "I came here with respect," he said, his voice tightening. "The least you could do is hear me out." Adaize met his gaze without fear. "And I am telling you the truth without wasting your time." "Enough!" The king's voice thundered across the courtyard, sending birds flying from nearby trees. He rose to his feet slowly, his eyes burning with anger. "Adaize," he roared. "You have humiliated this kingdom again." Adaize turned to face him. "I have only spoken my truth." "Your truth?" the king echoed bitterly. "Or your stubbornness?" The crowd shifted uneasily. "You turn away kings, princes, warriors, men any kingdom would be proud to call their own. Do you think you are above tradition?" Adaize's voice softened slightly, but her resolution remained. "I will not marry a man I do not love." The king's expression hardened. "Love?" he scoffed. "Love does not build alliances. Love does not protect a kingdom." He stepped down from his throne, his presence now even more intimidating. "Since you believe you are wiser than your father," he said slowly, "then hear my decree." The courtyard grew still. "From this day forward," the king declared, "you will marry the next man who enters this palace, no matter who he is." A wave of shock spread instantly. "What? No, he can't be serious." Even the prince looked stunned. Adaize's composure cracked for the first time. "Father," she began. "No," the king snapped. "You have made your choice, now I make mine." That evening, the skies grew dark. Heavy clouds gathered, and soon rain began to fall. The palace, once lively, became quiet. Servants hurried through corridors. Guards stood at their posts, their spears glistening with raindrops. At the palace gate, 2 guards stood watching the storm. "No one will come out in this weather," one of them muttered. The other nodded. "Not unless they have no choice." Then, a faint voice broke through the sound of the rain. "Please, help me." The guard stiffened. "Did you hear that?" one asked. The voice came again, weaker this time. "Please." They stepped forward cautiously, and there, standing just outside the gate, was a man. Barefoot, soaked from head to toe. His clothes were torn, clinging to his thin body. A beggar. One guard scoffed. "Go away. This is the king's palace, not a shelter for..." "But wait," the other guard said suddenly. His face went pale. "The king's decree." The first guard froze. "You don't mean..." Before they could react, the palace doors creaked open. Princess Adaize stepped out into the rain. Her eyes moved slowly until they landed on the beggar. Time seemed to stand still. She walked closer, ignoring the rain soaking her clothes. The beggar slowly lifted his head. For a brief moment, his eyes shimmered with something unnatural, something not human. Adaize's breath caught. "Who are you?" she whispered. The beggar looked at her and smiled faintly, a calm, knowing smile. "You will find out soon." The rain fell harder. The guards stood frozen, and deep within the palace, the king's decree echoed like a curse that could not be undone. The princess who rejected kings was now bound to a beggar. But what no one knew was that this beggar had not come by accident. He had been watching, waiting, and now the kingdom of Umuaka would never be the same again. Part 2 will reveal why the beggar came and what he really wants.